All right. Now, what I do basically now is I deal with a program called ISSP. That's called an Intensive Supervision and Surveillance Program. The number of parolees I deal are much lower than what Mr. Salgado would deal with. I have a maximum of 25 people that I can carry on my caseload at any one time. So mine is much more, I would say, much more social work oriented than law enforcement and oriented most of the time. What I would do is initially when a subject comes out of the state institution, we do an assessment on them, find out what they need, whether it's education, job training, reinstatement of their driver's license. A lot of these guys, when they were out on the street, had their license suspended. So we take it one step at a time to try to get them, after the 6-month period, when they come to Mr. Salgado, they'll have all that taken care of already. Because since he has 50 and 60 people, he can't be as intensive as I can be. So I see him about 3 times a week, and each time we evaluate and set some goals. I've been fortunate. I've have more successes than failures. But that's not the case throughout the state. That has not been the case with the ISSP officers I've talked to in Newark and in Patterson. Most of the offenders I deal with come from Bergen County, which does have a little bit more resources, community-based than other communities, Passaic County, Essex County, Camden County, Atlantic County. But we do the best that we can. That's basically about it. We'll answer at the end. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to spend as much time as we want answering your questions.
Let's give this to General Parole's Officer Mr. Lanier and Mr. Alvaro. And I hope that you are making your mental notes, because a lot of interesting things are happening here today. And you know, when I was a child back in Puerto Rico, my father was an architect. And I've always heard my father say, to be a soldier of the American Army is a career like any other. Always heard my father say that. But it wasn't until recently that and I asked this young man, 19 years of age, and please pay attention. I asked, why did you join the army? Answer, sir, because the streets of Boston didn't have anything to offer me. 19 years of age, 20 years of age. Why did you join the army? Sir, I got married, my wife is about to have a baby, and I want a future for my family. 19 and 20 years of age. Those are 2 answers to my questions. Therefore, we felt that it was good to introduce people from the army to talk to you about the burdens and inequities as human beings, and about the benefits of being an American member of the United States Army.
Superstar or something like that. I was spotlight. Walk around, look at your eyes, and touch you a little bit here and there. But you got a little advantage over now because I can't see anything with these bright lights. So you got to forgive me there. But anyway, I'm going to try to talk to you and basically tell you a little bit about myself. I am no different than anyone that's sitting here. I want you to remember that right here now. Because you could be in my position one day, and some of you are going to be in the same position. And once I finish telling you my little story, you're going to say, yeah, I can do that too. So start thinking about some goals that you want to set. Go ahead and set them in your mind now, because those goals will become reality in the next few years. All right, tell you a little story. Have parents down south? Everybody? No parents down south? Raise your hand up. Come on, raise your hand high. What part down there? What part? What part of the south? Come on, what do you got? North Carolina. That's good. You're close enough. You know, down south, they was in South Carolina. Is that good enough for you? Okay. All right. Yes, where are your parents from? From South Carolina? Are you a good person? Somebody give her a sign. I don't care what it is, but give it to her. She's a good person. All right. Good. Yeah, it's a little small place in South Carolina. It was kind of overcast. About like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 teenagers decided to go out and buy a car. Now, they're not really thinking about buying a car, but they want to go joyriding, and they don't have a car. So the 18-year-old say, okay, I'll pretend that I'm going to buy a car. We'll go to a used car lot. So they go to the used car lot, and they see this nice black 1966 Mustang, shiny Mustang. You know, anybody seen a 66? Always joking. Stay where you are. You're okay. Stay where you are. So they go joyriding. You know, first place they go is to the park. Naturally, some girls are going to be in the park, hanging out, little music going on and so forth. So now they got the radio on in the car. It sounded pretty good. Notice I said it was a little overcast. So they started driving it. Next, you know, the 17-year-old said, hey, I got to drive. It's my time. It's my time. I said, okay, good. You know, 16-year-old definitely not going to be the next one to drive, right? Because you got to go in order. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, it does. So, you know, the 17-year-old drive, you know, and they feeling pretty good, you know. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you that Mustang was a convertible. Oh. Talking about, what are you talking about now? Is that thing nice or what? Yeah, that thing is nice. Okay? So it's a nice convertible, black. I gotta say it again. Black interior, leather interior, black on the outside, big fat tires, rims of chrome. This thing is awesome, I'm telling you. Right? Anyway, so you know, they're just driving around, and the 16-year-old's in the back just ping-ponging, you know, hey Spike, can I drive, Spike, can I drive? No, shut up and sit down back there, you know? Well, anyway, so they drive, and now it's about, I guess about 4 o'clock, so, you know, they started at 1 o'clock, now it's 4 o'clock. Imagine what the car dealer is saying right now. He's like, whoa, where's my car? So anyway, so finally, they say, okay, tell the 16-year-old, okay, I guess you can drive now. Oh, what a mistake. The 16-year-old gets in the car, starts driving, feeling pretty good, sees some girls on the corner, start waving with one hand. You know you got to be changing gears, but he forget about this. You know, he's just enjoying himself. Anyway, he continued to drive, and they go down this big steep hill. And as they go down this steep hill, you know, faster you go, it seems like better it feel, right? Imagine that we ain't going through your hair. I don't have any hair now, so like, you go ahead and imagine that. You know, we ain't going through your hair and everything like this. But they keep going, and as they're going, they try to stop. But the reason why they're trying to stop is because they're about to go into a curve to the right. Well, they start going to the right in the curve, but however, the car was going left, meaning it was still going straight because it was going too fast going to the curve. Does that make sense to you? So, notice I said it was overcast, so now it started raining a little bit. It started raining, and so when they start, the 16-year-old start applying brakes, the car starts sliding, going left and right, what they call fist-tailing. You know, make sense? Okay, so that started happening. So next thing happened is they had a truck on the left side of the road. So the car hit the truck, but it didn't stop because they're going pretty fast. Then it continued to go and hit a fence. Still didn't stop. Had this huge tree up front. Finally, the car hit the tree. Bam! It stopped. All right? It stopped. And the 18-year-old looked at the 16-year-old. 17-year-old looked at the 16-year-old. Said, ooh, you're going to get it now. 16-year-old said, hey, I don't have my driving license with me. You know, 18-year-old, you gotta take control of this. He said, I don't think so. I'm not going to jail for you. So they say, okay. You know, the 18-year-old thought real quick, what we gotta do is go back and get your driving license. Imagine this now, think about this. go back and get your driver's license. So they say, okay, we're going to back the car up because the car was still running. You know, it stopped, but it was still running. They grab the driver's license and get back in the car, and they drive back. And now they got to look at the wheels, the tire print, to try to push the car right back up towards the tree. So they got the two 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, the guy and the 16-year-olds. Okay, come a little bit farther, go left, go right. And they do this. So by the time they had the car back towards the tree, next thing you know, you see these policemen coming. Two of them, like, oh, so, you know, naturally somebody heard this, saw this, and so forth. So, two police officers pull up, say, stop what you're doing right there, and now. Like, whoa, man, you know, 16-year-old, he's frozen, you know. He's like, get out of the car. It's like, oh, you know. So, you know, 16-year-old just thinking about his mother. Say, oh, boy, I'm going to get it. You know, I'm not thinking, you know, about going to jail. It's like, hey, thinking about the mother, okay? So, the cops get out and say, okay, take the 18-year-old, 17-year-old, pull them off to the side, one of them, and then one guy say, take the 16-year-old and say, hey, talk to me straight. You're going to jail. I know it right now, unless you tell me the truth. What happened? 16-year-old. And he said, hey, I just got out of the military. This is what I'm going to do. Because, you know, your career is still on track if you do the right thing. He said, basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to write you a ticket for driving too fast for conditioning. I'm not going to charge you for wrecking the car. I'm not going to take you to jail. I'm just going to charge you $30. What do you think about that? What do you think that 16-year-old said? Yeah. Oh yeah, this sounds real good. He said, but you better get your act together. If you're going into the Army, you need to go and you need to go now. So the bottom line is, the 16-year-old got away with, you know, breaking that car because they had insurance on it. The car dealer had insurance on it and so forth, with $30. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that straightened up that 16-year-old?
No. Yeah.
How many say yes? Raise your hand. That's pretty good. How many say no? How many don't know? How many don't care? Hey, you better care. All right. Okay, do you know who that 16-year-old was?
You.
All right, you got that right. He got tired of going to school. He said, hey, I'm tired of going to school. Guess what I'm going to do? Become a statistic. And become a statistic dropping out of high school. Is that a bad thing? Yeah. Is that a no-no? Yeah. But I want you to say, whoo. Okay? There you go. Okay. So the bottom line is, yeah, I dropped out of high school. I'm not proud of it. I'm telling you here, right here and now, I'm not proud of dropping out of high school. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Whatever you do, stay in school. Education is the key to success. It's the pathway to being successful. So ensure you stay in school. Just give you a little history about my background. My father was shot and killed when I was 2 years old. All right, so hey, don't feel sorry for me because trust me, I have had a great life and I'm still living. All right, so I never knew my father. I never had one, so I never knew what I wanted to do. Matter of fact, when the teacher was asking the class, what do you want to do? I would say, because I didn't know anything to do. You know, I had no idea. Okay, I had no idea. But anyway, what happened is, you know what? Just like I tell you guys, as soon as you walk out the door, you got to join. How many going to join? Everybody, right? Okay. No. Well, anyway, so what happened is, I met this recruiter. And so I talked to him, but I still didn't join him. Because at the time, I had started working at a cotton mill in South Carolina. A little small cotton mill, making $100 a week. I thought it was a lot of money. Trust me, because I didn't have it. But then I realized something. Hey, that person next to me has been working there for 20 years, making the same amount of money. So you think I want to do that for 20 years? No. Is that a whoa or what? Whoa! There you go. All right. So I did not want to work there for 20 years. So what I did one day, I went back to the recruiter, and I basically got on my say, hey, can I get in? He said, no, go away. So he sent me away for another 3 months, just to make sure that I really wanted to do it. Because if I dropped out of high school, how was I going to perform in the United States Army? Do you think the United States Army is a little bit difficult than high school? A little more difficult? Yeah, just a little bit, you know, not much, just a little bit, okay? All right, so finally I went back there on 6 months, and he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take you, but you got to ensure you do the right thing and stay there. I said, hey, I'm tired of South Carolina. I want to do something with my life. I want to be bigger than what I am, and I want some help. And basically, that's what the United States Army did. Graduated from basic training. So, what I saw there, I saw all these drill sergeants, all male drill sergeants, telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and so forth. But guess what? It felt good. I was like, oh, that feels good, that feels good. I want some more of that, that feels good. All right? So they said, hey, if you want to be in my position, first thing you got to do is get your education. I said, yeah. How do you do that? They said, hey, you got to go back to school. You got to go back and get your high school diploma. So you know what? Do you know what? I went back to school and got my high school diploma. Is that a big hole? Whoa! That's what I'm talking about. All right, that's what I'm talking about. So I went back and got my high school diploma. But they said, look here, you know, if you really want to do well in the United States Army, you got to continue your education. Does that make sense? Because you got to know what you're doing. Because you got some high-tech equipment. You got people who fly helicopters. You got people who fly airplanes in the United States Army. You got people who drive tanks, different types of vehicles, work on equipment, computers, and so forth. So you got to go back to school. So they said, do you want to go to college? I said, college? How do you spell that? With a G? They said, no, with a C. I said, okay, great. I do want to go back to school. So they said, okay. So I went to night school while I was working during the day, and I got my associate's degree. Is that a good thing? Is that a who? Oh! That's what I'm talking about. So I got my associate's degree. So by this time, I think I'm doing pretty good, because you know what comes along with education? More money, more money. So, you know, I was moving up in position, you know, becoming what we call a sergeant. Now I had personnel working for me. And it felt good, making more money, enjoying myself. I had moved up, you know, and now I was driving a brand new Mustang. You know, like, hey, I'm good to go now. I got my own black Mustang, so I was good. But Don came back to me and said, hey, look, you're doing okay. How would you like to get out of the military and go to college? And we pay for you going to college. I was like, come on, you joking me. I know you're kidding me. There's no such thing. They said, oh, yeah, it is. So I said, okay, if you're going to pay me to go to school and let me out of the military, I think I'll do it. You know? So what I did, they basically gave me what we call a green to gold scholarship. Gave me a scholarship to go back to my bachelor's degree. So guess what? I got my bachelor's degree. Is that a good thing? Yeah. Is that a who? That's what I'm talking about. So I got my bachelor's degree from a little place called Landon University in South Carolina. Very nice school. Only thing bad about it, the ratio was 8 to 1. 8 female to 1 male. You know, that's good. Is that a who? Oh, that's what I'm talking about. So I went to a small school. I was there for 2 years. I got my bachelor's degree in administration. And I also got commissioned as a second lieutenant. Because I was in what we call the ROTC. Some of you probably heard of it. Anybody heard of the ROTC? Reserve Officer Training Code. Okay, that's basically what you can become a lieutenant during college. So I did that, and then I came back in. I went to a place called Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I went to the home of the Airborne, which is 82nd Airborne. Anybody ever heard of the 82nd Airborne? Do you know what the 82nd Airborne do? They jump out of airplanes. How many people want to jump out of airplanes? Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Is that a who or what? That's what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, it's nothing like jumping out of an airplane. I'm telling you. Hold on. I gotta tell you my little scream. Can I tell you my little scream jumping out of an airplane? I'm telling you. All right. It's nothing like jumping out of an airplane. All right. One good thing about the military is before you do anything, you get training. You get the education and the knowledge to do it right. Because we don't want anyone to get injured. Because when someone gets injured, that costs money. The government is not going to pay a lot of money for you. All right, so first thing you have to do is see a place called Fort Benning, Georgia. It's about south of Atlanta. I know a lot of people heard of Atlanta, right? Yeah, it's about 150 miles south of Atlanta. So you got to go down there for like 3 weeks to learn how to jump out of an airplane. And I'm telling you this, that was difficult for me because I get dizzy, of height just looking at it on television. Imagine that. So you imagine going up in an airplane. I'm looking at it on television, I see a skyscraper, and I get sick. I'm like, whoa, stop, turn the television. Okay? So anyway, you go up there down at Fort Benning, get in there, and so they put you in the airplane. And they tell you, hey, when you step out, they put you in the door, right? They open up the doors, you fly across, and you're about 2,000 feet up in the air. And everything down below looks like a little ant, okay? But you don't want to look down and find out how big it is. All right, and they tell you that whatever you do, when you step in the door, do not look down. All right? So, I've been bad all my life. So I'm like, I'm going to look down once I get in that door. So we get ready, the plane is flying across. And as the plane is flying across, they tell me finally my turn to get in the door. I see all these other people going out, shuffling, going out the door. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Everybody's just going along. What I didn't see was what that sergeant was doing up there. And I tell you what he was doing up there. All right? So finally, my turn comes. I go up there and I get to the door. And I remember, hey, don't look down. But what I do, I look down. And as soon as I look down, I'm like, whoa, I can't go. Next thing you know, I felt something in the back, just pushed me on out the door. So that's what that sergeant was doing. He just pushed you on out the door. All right, that was my first experience. But that was a good experience because I landed like a feather, and that was good. And so I currently have over 40-some jumps out of the airplane. Is that a good thing? Is that a whoop? Okay, so anyway, so going along. All right, as going along, I came back in as an officer. As I come back in, I became what we call a platoon leader. As a platoon leader, you're a second lieutenant, and you have roughly about 30 to 40 personnel that work underneath you. That's pretty good because you constantly understanding personnel, leadership, and you're moving up in rank. So I was at the 82nd for about 4 years before I got selected for captain, and after that I was stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Anybody heard of Savannah, Georgia? Anybody from Savannah? Got family, anything like that? No? You? Got somebody down there? I'm sorry. Atlanta, GA? Okay, that's good. All right, so I was down there at Fort Stewart. At Fort Stewart, I was what we call a company commander. I currently had about 100-some people that worked for me. And I was there again for 18 months. After that, the military came back to me one more time, and guess what they asked me? No, they asked me if I want to go back to school again and get my graduate degree. I said, no, you joking me. That can't be true. You want me to go back to school again? You gonna pay me to do that? Nah. But you know what? I did. I went back to school. I went to Central Michigan University. I got my graduate degree in administration. Is that a good thing? Yeah. Is that a whore? I've been told that I've been talking for too long. You guys kicking me out. Never coming back. You're kicking me out. But I'm going to wind this up real quick here and say this. Whatever you do, stay in school. All right? Education is the key to success. Thank you.
Very good. One of the things that I learned during my visit in North Carolina to the Army training camp is that the soldiers never applaud. When something good happens, you say, "Boom!" So the question is, was that captain something? Is this program something very interesting? That's it. Now I like to call to the front. Before I call to the front, listen to this. Captain Anderson said something very interesting. He didn't have a role model to follow. you already have a lot of advantage in that sense over him. You have him and you have the speakers here today. So you're very lucky, but we're gonna come back to that later. I'd like to call to the front Barbara Lonegro, Mr. Salgado and Mr. Lanier, and the Captain Henry Ellis. I like you, I'm sure that you do have questions. So we have to get out of here by 11:15. So I'm going to take 5 questions. Who's got the first questions? In the back I see a hand. The young lady.
Once you graduate from high school.
Very good. Second question.
Time there with my friend. Unfortunately, the 17-year-old was killed. I failed to say that he was in a confrontation. That was another thing that propelled me to do the right thing. Yes. I don't know, how many can you count? American, but in the Army, we don't look at race. Everybody in the military is green. That's bottom line.
I've already said I was from Cuba, but I have a question for the captain. Could you please address the role of women in the military and the career for women?
I'll address that question. That's a very good question, ma'am. The role for the females in the military is very open. You'll be very successful. When we go out and recruit individuals, we actually go out and look for females, especially in this area here, because females are very hardworking, they're very determined, and they're very intelligent. So we know the females can do very well.
Captain, I have a question for you. You're going to have a second tour, I believe it's in October? In October. But this tour, the Army invites community leaders to see how our boys are trained. My question to you, Captain, is could we invite the administration of the First Ave School in North?
Yes, I'd like to personally invite all administrative guidance counselors. What basically what Mr. Torres is talking about is in October, we have an ed tour that's going to go down to one of the military installations. And we'll go around and invite the guidance counselors, principals, and all administrators to go on this tour so you can see exactly what's going on the military installation. Because we don't have anything to hide, because the Army is probably one of the best places you can be. I truly believe in that. So everyone here is invited to go.
One more question. I'm going to take this young man over here, and then we close.
No, you don't have to be a citizen to join the service. And that's good, because we look for people to come in that are really dedicated to be in the service. Not necessarily are you just a U.S. citizen. If you believe in it, we want you in.
Well, before we close, I'd like to say a couple of things, and one of the things that I'm going to say is to Mr. Lanier and Mr. Salgado. You know, we invited you here, but I am very, very pleased to tell you, Mr. Salgado and Mr. Lanier, that you have no clients in this group. All right, you've heard 4 leaders talk to you about their problems, about their experiences. They shared with you some personal experiences, and I think that is wonderful. And I think it's wonderful that you, ladies and gentlemen, have the opportunity to hear them. Because, as I said before, many of you may think that you come from divorced parents, or a broken home, that you are Afro-American, that you're Hispanic, etc., and that you are consider yourself a minority. The truth of the matter is that your country of origin, not the color of your skin, should be an obstacle for you to have dreams and to go and make them a reality. As young as you are, ladies and gentlemen, your future is not in the hands of your teachers, or in the hands of your role models, or in the hands of your parents. The future, your future, as young as you are, is in here. Because you are the only one responsible for your life. It's not father and mother, it's not the speakers to hear, it's not Mr. Orsini, it's not your teachers, it's not your friends. And when you have friends that invite you to do the things that you should not do, because it may come the time that Mr. Salgado and Mr. Lanier will have to talk to you later, don't tell me he influenced me to do it. He made me do it. The truth to the matter is that nobody could make you do something that you don't want to do. The truth to the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is that you, and only you, and I'm repeating myself, but I want you to carry this message and put it in your subconscious mind. You're the only one responsible for your lives. It's nobody else. I could invite you to an easy life, and you should know better to tell me, no sir, no thanks. I rather study. I rather do my homework. I rather do my essays. I rather work hard. And then at the end, my life is going to be okay. And you know what? It's not about being poor or being rich. Having no money have nothing to do with happiness. Your happiness, again, is inside your mind. You produce your own happiness. You produce your own misery. And life is about choices. And you choose whatever you want to be in life today. And you want to go to college tomorrow? Very well, I think it's terrific. Start working today. Because if you get careless today with your notes, and if you didn't have good grades today, it may come to haunt you tomorrow when you change your mind like the captain did about going to college. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a wonderful audience. I'd like to once again thank Mr. Anthony Orsini for inviting us to bring this program to you. I'd like to thank the administration for being so helpful. And you know what? Before I leave, I want to memorize the faces of the 3 people. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do something better. You're such a wonderful audience that I'm going to give you 5 instead of 3, Mr. Orsini. 5 people are going to be invited from this group with their families and their teachers to a nice restaurant and a nice evening, and you're going to receive an award. Let me see those 5 hands. Terrific. Hooah! Hooah! Hooah!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been sitting here for a long time, and as Mr. Torres just said, you've been a beautiful well-behaved, attentive audience, and now I want just a few more minutes and then we'll send you back upstairs. First of all, Mr. Torres talked about setting goals. Mr. Torres also talked about you being able to become anything that you want to become. Perhaps Mr. Torres does not know about every boy and girl who is sitting in this auditorium today. But every morning, over the loudspeaker, we describe ourselves. When the speaker gets on and talks about First Avenue School and the boys and girls here, he or she often or every day says that every boy and every girl in this school is what? Yeah. Say that a little bit louder for them to hear you. We truly believe that all of us are gifted and talented. And in the beginning of this program, Mr. Torres says that when he looked out on this audience, he saw doctors and lawyers and pharmacists and teachers and principals and army captains and social workers. And that's what I see when I look out here too. He also mentioned something about role models. Role models are people who we can look up to, and role models are people who we can aspire to become. There are a lot of successful people in this world, a lot of people who could be our role models. But not all of those people take time from their lives, their busy schedules, to spend 2 hours at First Avenue School to talk to about 300 boys and girls about what it is that they have to do to make something of themselves. Those are really very special role models, and I really would like you now to give a very warm First Avenue thank you to these four. We appreciate the fact that you've come here, and I want to thank Mr. Torres for expanding our dinner guest list from 3 to 5. I know that all of the teachers in the room here have received directions for the essay, and I know that in the next few days, when are those essays due, Mr. Torres? Okay, so as soon as we go back to the classrooms during our language arts periods, we're going to have our kids start writing these essays. The directions are upstairs. Not necessarily today, don't moan. We just talked about wanting to work hard, now you're moaning. Because we want 5 of our young people and their teachers to go to this dinner, and I want to go too. Thank you very much for being good audience teachers. You may take your classes back.